that the CIAA has put out an official press release, let's talk about it. It seems as if there's going to be, not seems as if, there definitely is going to be what I would like to call a D2 version of the Celebration Bowl. You know, the Celebration Bowl puts up the best team in the SIAC versus the best team in the SWAC, and they are labeled the HBCU national champions. Well, from what we see here, they're also going to do something similar at the Division II level, where they will pit a team from the CIAA versus a team in the SIAC. So let's talk about this. It's called the Florida Beach Bowl. The Central Intercollegiate Athletics Association announces its partnership in the inaugural Florida Beach Bowl. The game is scheduled for Wednesday, we're going to talk about that, December 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. and will be played in the DRV PNK Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. We're going to talk about that too. The game pairs two of the best teams in the CIAA and the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Association. So the SIAC, they got that wrong. But okay. The game positions the CIAA and the SIAC for a bowl opportunity after an 11-year hiatus, with the final Pioneer Bowl event being played in 2012. See, this is before my time, you know. I don't remember a Pioneer Bowl, but, you know, okay. We are continuously evaluating ways to improve the CIAA experience for our student athletes, alumni, and fans. Adding new components like Florida Beach Bowl creates yet another opportunity for collaboration for our HBCU conferences. We are thrilled to be a part of the inaugural Florida Beach Bowl featuring two perennial HBCU conferences, the CIAA versus the SIAC. This opportunity is a long time coming for their first postseason matchup in nearly 3 decades. We are excited for the return of the postseason competition. There will be events like a 5K run, celebrity golf tournament, prayer breakfast, media day, coaches luncheon, and fan festival, and of course, game day. Now, let's talk about this, because I'm not going to lie, this is exciting to have a D2 version of the Celebration Bowl. However, the participation in the Florida Beach Bowl is based on conference standing and availability. That's going to be interesting. The question is going to be, well, let's start off with here. First of all, this is a good opportunity, and I would like to see more SIAC versus CIAA matchups. I would like to see that. Right? That would definitely be, good for everybody involved. Raise the profile of all the institutions involved. But now let's talk about the logistics and how successful this may or may not be. First of all, we got to talk about the timing of this. So you roll this out in September and you want everybody to come out this December. Why not come up with this and then say starting next year? Or if you're going to do it in 2023, why not roll this out in like June or July? It's kind of late in the game to roll this out. And then number two, it's in the middle of the week, basically 12 days before Christmas. Here's the crazy part. It's because a lot of us who work have Christmas breaks, but it's in the middle of the week, so it's not close enough to the Christmas break. And a lot of people have blackout days, meaning days that they cannot take off. Also, once again, it's in the middle of the week, 12 days before Christmas. And we're just hearing about it in September. That's going to be an issue in terms of who can and who is willing to go in terms of fan support. Also, it's in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So it's not like specifically for the CIAA, it's not a place where you can just make the drive. It's it's too far to drive. You're going to have to hop on the plane to make this trip. So you're going to have to hop on the plane on like a Tuesday or maybe even that Monday. So basically, you're going to take a week off of work the week before Christmas and pay for travel and stay and food and activities. If you got kids, that's interesting. So the day that they're having it is interesting. When they rolled everything out was interesting. And the time of it is interesting. I'm talking about in December. Because in both conferences, the season is going to end around the first weekend in November. That's the conference championship games will be around the first weekend in November. Following that, the playoffs will start probably like the second week. Basically, the D2 playoffs for teams who make it, it'll start in the second week of November, close to mid-November. This game is in the middle of December. So then the question becomes, if a team wins the conference championship and they make the playoffs and they lose in the first round, so their season is over basically, November 11th, middle of November, and they got a month until this game, do they commit to going to this game? Or do they say, you know what, we had a good season, we had a great one, we're done? What if a team wins in the first round, goes to the second round of the playoffs, and now they're playing closer to the end of November? Do they say, okay, we're going to go out and play in this game in 2 weeks? Or do they say, you know what, we good? Those are the things you have to think about. Let's say the teams that win the conference and go to the playoffs, they say, you know what, we had a good year, we had a good run, guys are hurt, guys are dinged up, we're going to pass on that, right? So you send a different team. So, well, this team hasn't played since the first week in November. So it's been over a month, almost a month and a half since they've played. Are they going to say, we're going to rev things back up and go to this game? It's going to be interesting who decides to go. For two reasons. One, it's going to be interesting to see who decides to go based upon how much they've played and how recently they've played. Also, it's going to be important to see who decides to go based upon the strength of the fan base. Because this is the first one. You wanted to have a good showing. So you got to be mindful of what schools are going based upon which fan base you think will travel the most. And this goes back to the Fort Lauderdale piece of it. If they had it in a city that was more HBCU friendly, meaning in an area that had a whole lot of HBCUs in it already, is the reason why the Celebration Bowl is in Atlanta. Because there's a lot of HBCUs in that area. So even if your school is not in it, you might go just because, hey, it's an HBCU event. That's not what Fort Lauderdale is. So I don't think you're going to get a whole bunch of people just going for HBCU culture. So you're going to have to choose specific fan bases. In certain schools, and here's the thing. If I'm the CIAA and the SIAC, I think a lot of the schools in the conference, regardless of what school actually goes, I think a lot of the schools, if not all the schools, should do something to where they're sending at least one bus out there. Because if each school can find a way to just send a bus, then we can have a decent attendance, a decent crowd. Because the last thing we want to do is have this game and it's empty in there. That would not be a good look. You have this event and ain't nobody there. So we got to be mindful of what schools go, and we got to make sure, individuals at that institution actually pull up. And I think there need to be a conscious effort from each of the conferences to just say, we're going to just send some buses out there. We're going to send some students out there. We're going to get some alumni buses out there. We're just going to support the conference. It might not be your school that's playing, but let's just support the conference because it's a good look for everybody. So we're going to see how this goes. I definitely would like to go, but once again, it's 12 days before Christmas. And it's in the middle of the week. And I would have to fly there. Then you got to think about what you're going to tell what you're going to tell your spouse. Oh yeah, I'm just going to go to Fort Lauderdale in the middle of the week. You just hang out here with the children. I'll be like, so it's going to be interesting, but we'll see. I am excited for the opportunity though, but hopefully we can make this go well and go smoothly.